What methods do you have for coping with anxiety? Journaling has been a game changer for me. It's like having a low-budget therapist who's available 24/7. I write down everything that's bugging me, and somehow seeing it on paper makes it seem more manageable. Plus, doodling in the margins is a nice bonus stress reliever. I've always found this difficult because I'm a fairly self-conscious person, so immortalizing my thoughts and feelings is tough. But maybe it would help. I'll give it a try. Immortalizing my thoughts. Doing this is exactly what you need to do, so that you can revisit those thoughts later and reflect on them with a clear mind. Maybe you're right. I often feel embarrassed about seeing how I felt about things at the time. Like my feelings were irrational or stupid and not valid. Maybe that's some of the reason I don't gravitate towards this naturally. Me. Rips page out 2 months later when I revisit because, girl, you were tripping and everything was, in fact, okay. I do this but never read them back. First, I did it in a notebook. Now I do it in a notes app on my laptop and lock the notes so it feels secure. I like doing it on the computer cause I'm quicker at typing, so I just unload my thoughts and don't worry about grammar or caps and just let it fly. If it's about someone, fuck it, I'll write it. If it's deep and dark, I write it. Another tips I got with anxiety is a technique called take the thought to court. If you're worrying about everyone hating you, for example, a pretty common one, take that thought to court and write down their evidence for the case and against it. For example, everyone hates me, Your Honor. The evidence for this is, I sometimes say stupid things, or I don't text back. The evidence against this says they never said they hate me, they invite me to things, and I enjoy myself when I'm there. So in conclusion, they don't hate me. Cognitive restructuring. My favorite being looking for evidence of my worries, thoughts being unlikely, incoherent, or incorrect. For example, my friends probably hate me. What evidence do I have that could prove this? What evidence do I have to prove that they in fact do not? I do this too. For me, it is more about my reaction to a situation. For instance, I dropped a cake I just made. Being upset is totally valid. Is the intensity of that emotion justified? I freeze and decide what level of upset makes sense. A hearty fuck is justified. Screaming and throwing cake at the walls is not. Hell, if the rest of the day was super shitty, crying might even be okay. It's taken years of practice, but I feel like most of my reactions are more reasonable now. Apparently, I look rather comical when I do this sometimes, because depending on what it is, I actually freeze. I stared at that cake for a hot minute before I reacted. When I'm sitting in the moment of anxiety, I do this. I breathe. A deep, long inhale, a comfortable, collapsing exhale. I focus on my breathing and my working lungs and not on whatever problem has triggered my anxiety. Once I feel calmer, I look at the problem that's causing the anxiety. I imagine the worst-case scenario. What if my deepest worry actually materialized? I then figure out what I would do if that actually happened. Once I realize that, even though it's not something I wish to go through, that there is a path out of it, I feel calmer and in more control. I think back to other times I felt this way, and the eventual outcome wasn't as difficult to deal with as I had imagined. For me, it's the loss of control and the unknown that causes my mental and emotional discomfort. Once I have an idea of a possible plan forward, it doesn't feel so scary. Hope this is of some help to you. My therapist always tells me to reword what if to even if, meaning even if that thing happens, I will be just fine. The worst-case scenario has been incredibly beneficial for me. My best friend and I make a game out of it, coming up with the worst possible outcome and trying to exaggerate and make it worse in ridiculous ways until eventually it becomes darkly funny. That simple technique has gotten me through so many rough patches and bad days. One of our recent ones, I'm going to go to this job interview and realize at the last second that my son threw up on my blouse and I didn't get the stain out. And then the person interviewing me is going to laugh and call everyone in to point and look at me, and they'll all be standing in a circle around me just calling me puke shirt and telling me I can't have the job. Then every time I try to go to another interview, word has already spread and they call me puke shirt there too. And eventually I can't get a job, my wife leaves me, I'm homeless, and none of the other homeless people want to sit with me because no one wants to hang out with someone whose nickname is puke shirt. I really don't know why this helps with anxiety so much, but it does. My friend aced the interview and got the job. Acutely or aggregately? Acutely. Try to focus on the present moment. Look around, take some deep breaths, and assess that nothing is currently wrong or disastrous, etc., in that moment. Additionally, it may be helpful to engage in something such as a hobby, a walk, etc., to distract yourself. Aggregately, and hear me when I say this, do something that will fill your bucket daily, weekly, etc. Your bucket will fill 2 to 3% each day and be emptied out 1 to 2% from life's stupidities. 6 months will go by and you'll be 30 to 40% better. 12 to 18 months will go by and you'll be 90% better. Just trust the process and take care of yourself, and never give up. I don't understand the bucket filling analogy. Please explain. Of course, if you feel like sad, angry, lonely, etc., your bucket is empty. If you feel great, fulfilled, happy, etc., your bucket is full. Another example may be as simple as toxic people or traits are putting holes in your bucket. Meditation and physical activity. I'm more active into these activities, somehow I'm doing great and feeling good of what I've accomplished, and I am proud. Physical activity is the best mental health life hack ever. Many people here have given great lifestyle advice like exercise and meditation and journaling, so I want to jump in with an in-the-moment practice that helps me. It's based on the adage that you are not your thoughts, which basically means that even if you think something, it doesn't define you. It's not you, it's just a thought that's crossing through your brain. You can choose to pick that thought up and hold it, or you can stand back and watch it pass by and let the next thought come. So what I've done is sort of imagine my thoughts as being in little boxes on a conveyor belt. As they come, I pick them up and open them and see what's inside. And if it's an anxiety thought, I imagine myself just closing the box and putting it back on the belt and saying thanks, but I'll wait for the next one, and letting it travel away. It sounds silly and trite, but it's actually helped me a surprising amount to deal with acute spikes. Good luck, OP. You are doing better than your anxieties want you to think you are. This technique is called thought diffusion, and we practiced this in the anxiety program I was in a bunch. My favorite method is labeling, so when a thought comes up saying, that's a judging thought, or that's an anxious thought. It seems silly, but it helps distance you from distressing thoughts your brain spits out. Other methods are repeating the thoughts you have in a silly voice, or imagining leaves on a stream and putting your thoughts on the leaves as they float away. Naming your mind is another fave. I call mine Craig whenever I get any distressing thoughts, LMAO. I used to struggle with self-harm, and now when my brain is like, you should go hurt yourself, I'll think, or we could not do that, Craig, you fucking weirdo. In conclusion, finding effective ways to cope with anxiety is a personal journey, and what works for one person may not resonate with another. Remember, it's all about building resilience and discovering what fills your bucket with positivity. If you or someone you know is struggling with anxiety, please consider reaching out for professional help. It can make a significant difference. If you found these strategies helpful, share your thoughts in the comments and let us know what methods work for you. Don't forget to subscribe for more discussions on mental health and self-improvement. Thank you for watching.